All right, we are live. Hey, welcome everyone. Not even going to wait till I see that we're live. I'm just going ahead with the show. It is a Friday, a Fact Check Friday. Today is January 20th, 2023. I'm so glad that you all are joining me today. I'm going to do something a little dangerous today. I'm going to try to discuss something that is tricky to discuss. And yeah. It is going to be an interesting thing. I do want to first remind everyone, hit that like button. I really appreciate the likes. It does make a difference. Yesterday I asked for 25 likes, and you all came through. I got 27 likes out of like 54 views. Not a whole lot of people are seeing this program. Not many. So anything that you can do if you like this program that can help it, I would appreciate that greatly. It really does mean a lot to me. I do spend some time and effort putting these together. And yeah, the thumbs up is free, so knock yourself out. I know I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I don't hit anybody's like button. Rarely do I hit like buttons on YouTube, and then I ask you to do it. But we're all hypocrites, I guess. It means a lot that you do that. Thank everyone that left comments in the live chat. That is really cool, and I think that does make a difference. Hey, everyone, what's up? See some people over there as well. But today, we're talking about fact-checking, and we're going to be talking about the 2020 election. Dun, dun, dun. And is it even possible to talk about that? But I think we will be able to do that. So first, let me just preview the show real quick. Here's what we're talking about. We're going to fact check Bill Barr and something that he made a claim about. We're going to discuss burden of proof, and this is a complicated topic, and I know not everybody's going to get it. Okay, probably because I'm not doing the best job explaining it, but that's what we're going to discuss. Also, for fun, I'm going to talk about Flo Rida. He won a big lawsuit, and Calibri, am I saying that right? Calibri is going to be the next big font, and I'm going to talk about why that is happening. But first, before we do anything, flame on, get some flames in the chat, and hit my music. Hey, all right. Here we are. We've got a great show for you today. My name is Tom Coffey. The show is Coffee and Nuance because that's what this world needs, is more coffee and more nuance. I hope you agree. Today, we're going to talk about fact-checking, and there's a few things about fact-checking that may get a little complicated, and I got to go through a few caveats to get to it. But here's essentially how we fact-check, right? We find a statement or a claim that you want to verify. You have to have this. You can't just fact-check something that's not specific. Okay, then you want to find reliable sources that provide information on that topic. You want to compare your sources of information with the statement, check to see if it's supported by the information of your sources, and then you want to look for other sources. You don't just want one source, you want to verify it. Now, if the statement or claim is not supported by multiple reliable sources, it might be false and it might be misleading. Perhaps. Hashtag not all, right? And it's also important to consider the source of the information, like a reputable source. If you have a history of accuracy, then you're more likely to be reliable than someone that has a history of spreading misinformation or government talking points, right? So you have to take all of that into account, all right? And all right, got a couple people here. That's good. What's up, N-Man? What's up, Tobias? Nice. And next comes the burden of proof. And it's interesting with burden of proof because this is something that we're not talking about a legal burden of proof right now. We're talking about a philosophical burden of proof. And it's the same term, but they have different meanings. Okay? So we're going to be talking about a fair election. And while we're talking about a fair election, I do want to make it clear that it is the policy and the statement and the understanding of me and this channel, there's zero evidence of widespread fraud, errors, or glitches that would change the outcome of any past U.S. presidential elections. Just to be clear, that is exactly how I feel. That is how this channel feels. And if you think that I'm saying something different than that, you're wrong, because this is exactly what I am saying, okay? So to be clear, and this is right in line with YouTube's policy on discussing this topic, zero evidence of widespread fraud, errors, or glitches that would have changed or that would change the outcome of any past U.S. presidential election. Okay? And we know this because it just is. Okay? But that is where we're coming from this channel. That is what I believe, and that is what I'm sure everyone in my audience believes, and there's no dispute about that. Okay? Just to make it extra clear. All right? Okay, I think I covered that. But we're going to be talking about Bill Barr and a statement that he made in regards to fair elections. Now, we're talking about the burden of proof. And I put that a little further ahead. There we go. There we go. Burden of proof. Now, in regards to a fair election, this means the responsibility of the person making a claim of unfairness to provide evidence to support the claim. So in the context of an election, this means the person or group alleging the election was not fair has to present evidence to support their claim, such as evidence of voter fraud or misconduct by election officials. This evidence must be strong enough to convince a court or other decision-making body that the election was indeed unfair. In some cases, the burden of proof may also be on the government to prove that the election was conducted fairly. Whoa, how about that? Now, in many other countries, they will have international observers to verify that it was done in a manner that can be trusted. We've seen this. I know that Jimmy Carter has worked with many foreign elections where they've had observers to make sure that the election was fair. Now, currently, we don't have this in the United States because we don't need to in the United States. We know that our elections are good. And if you don't think so, the burden of proof is on you to prove otherwise. Okay? But this is now here's where it gets tricky. What do you do when you say there's no evidence of something? Okay, you make the claim there's no evidence of something. Well, the burden of proof is on the person making the claim. That's how it works, right? That's the philosophical argument. Okay, this means that if you claim there's no evidence, then that means you have to provide evidence or logical reasoning to support your claim that there's no evidence. For example, okay, if someone claims there's no evidence of a certain event occurring, they need to provide evidence that they have searched for and not found any credible evidence supporting the occurrence of that event. So, and you can also use reasoning to argue that the absence of evidence is evidence of absence. Now, it gets tricky. It's worth noting that not being able to prove the absence of something is not the same as proving its existence. So lack of evidence doesn't necessarily imply that something didn't happen. It just means there's no proof of it. Are you following me? I hope so. Let's see. Okay. Flame on, indeed. Oh man, it's tricky to discuss this topic. I'm trying to cover my bases here. So in general, the burden of proof of claims of absence of evidence is lower than claims of presence of evidence. It's because generally it's easier to disprove something than to prove it. And because the absence of evidence doesn't necessarily imply the presence of something else. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. And the reason that I bring all this up is it has to do with Bill Barr and some statements that he made. And so let's go over what he originally claimed. Okay, so this is from December 1st of 2020. Okay, and this was in the AP. U.S. Attorney General William Barr said that the Justice Department found no evidence of widespread voter fraud that could change the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. And I agree, because this coincides with the statement that I said earlier. No evidence of widespread fraud, errors, or glitches that would change the outcome of any past U.S. presidential election. So we're seeing eye to eye so far. This statement contradicts claims made by President Donald Trump and his legal team, who've been working to overturn election results and block President-elect Joe Biden from taking office. Again, this is from December 2020. Barr's comments were notable as he's previously been one of Trump's strongest allies and previously raised concerns about mail-in voting being vulnerable to fraud during the pandemic. In fact, it is important to keep in mind, okay, Bill Barr did get into a little trouble because he went on CNN and he made claims about some mail-in voting in Texas, and he said that that was evidence of fraud, right? And that turned out not to be true, and he did recant that. He incorrectly said in an interview with CNN's Wolf Blitzer that elections have been held with have been held with mail that has found substantial fraud and coercion. And then he said, for example, we indicted someone in Texas, 1,700 ballots collected. From people who could vote, he made them out and voted for the person he wanted, okay? That's what Bill Barr said on CNN with Wolf Blitzer. That turned out to not be true. Bill Barr was incorrect or misleading, or he lied or he misled or he was wrong, whatever the case may be. Can't mind read. But he has been wrong about this in the past. And then on where he made the declarative statement that there's no evidence of voter fraud, widespread voter fraud, that would change the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. And that is what we're going to fact check. Bill Barr claiming that there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud that could change the outcome of the 2020 election. Now, to be clear, I'm fact checking his claim, whether his claim can be backed up. I'm not fact checking whether or not there were any issues with the 2020 presidential election. It may sound like that's what I'm doing, but that's not what I'm doing. As we all know, and I know this is getting tedious, but I'm treading a thin line here. As we all know, there's zero evidence. Zero evidence. See, I need to reverse things because it's zero evidence of widespread fraud, errors, or glitches that would change the outcome of any past U.S. presidential elections. Please don't delete my video. Okay? Now, There's been a new report. More evidence. A Freedom of Information Act requests reveal there was no Department of Justice investigations on election fraud after the 2020 election, as Bill Barr claimed. What? Yeah. So, this is from the Gateway Pundit, and we always have to keep in mind who our sources are. Okay? Now, according to PolitiFact, right, they rate the Gateway Pundit. They say the Gateway Pundit is, according to PolitiFact, is a conservative website. But Wikipedia goes much further than that. Wikipedia claims the Gateway Pundit is an American far-right fake news website. It's known for publishing falsehoods, hoaxes, and conspiracy theories. So we have to keep that in mind. Is this a good, valid source or not? So we'll get into that. But let's just see what the claims are. The claims are that former U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr said in December 2020, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. But now it's been revealed that there was never an investigation done as a result of a memo sent by Barr in November 2020. So former Trump advisor Jeremy Clark, the director of litigation at the Center for Renewing America, revealed that they sent out a Freedom of Information Act request to 12 U.S. attorney districts from the 2020 battleground states, and all but one district returned with 0 documents. The one district has not yet come in is the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, which was denied a request to investigate issues in the district by Barr. Okay. This suggests that Bill Barr was not exactly honest with the American public about the investigation, and there's no proof of voter fraud. So to be clear, no proof of voter fraud. But now it looks like, even though he said this, that none of the districts investigated whether there were or there were not. And you may think, but what about all that stuff I heard about? What about all the cases? I'm not talking about those. What I'm talking about is Bill Barr sent a memo about this investigation, and none of the districts followed up with an investigation whatsoever. So, what does this mean? What does this mean? It's tricky. What I see this, and I'm just going to preface this by saying, I don't think that most people that watch this video are going to agree with me, and I understand. This is a tricky subject to talk about, and I'm trying to talk about this in a logical, rational way. And not everyone is as logical and rational as me, and I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that we're all different, okay? A lot of people bring in, when they're thinking about certain topics, they bring in their past, they bring in their feelings, they bring in their biases. And I'm not saying that I'm above all of that. We all think differently. Now, with me in particular, I seem to be hyper-focused on patterns and logic and reason, and I'm not very good at reading people. I'm not very good at mind reading. There's lots of things that I'm not good at. If you were to look up the characteristics of Asperger's, I would probably match 98% of those. So reason and logic and the definitions of things, that's really important to me. Being precise is very important to me personally, and I understand that everybody else doesn't necessarily think the same way. So we're all different, okay? But my looking at this, what I see is that Bill Barr is making a claim that there's no evidence of something, and it appears to me that he then didn't look for any evidence. Again, that doesn't mean that there is evidence, because there isn't. But it doesn't appear that he even looked. And when you're making a claim that something doesn't exist, you need to do something or explain your reasoning as to why you came to that, because the burden of proof is on the person making the claim. So if you make the claim that something does exist, you need to explain that it exists. I know that often if you, that examples, right, are not necessarily persuasive. They're just for better understanding. But let's say someone had a girlfriend and you go to them and I'm a little concerned. I think your girlfriend is cheating on you, right? And the person says, nope, I don't think so. You go, okay, that's cool. Have you looked into it at all? And your friend's like, no, haven't looked into it, don't need to. Okay, you can do that. That's one thing. But if there were a different situation, okay, where a guy came and said, hey, just so you know, my girlfriend is not cheating on me, and you declare that, okay, what evidence do you have? Nothing, and I didn't look into it. And you're like, well, did you look at her text messages or anything? No, I would never do that. Did you talk to her friends? No, didn't do that. Did you look at her social media where she was posting pictures? No, I didn't look at her social media at all. Did you do anything at all to know that she's not cheating on you? No, I did nothing, and she didn't. Now, that's a terrible example. I realize that is bad reasoning. I'm just trying to come up with an example. If you have a better example, please let me know. Please let me know. But let's go back to the source here. This was the Gateway Pundit has made the claim that they filed some Freedom of Information Acts and they came back with nothing. Well, I don't necessarily know that I believe them either. Can I see these requests? Can I get copies of the requests? Did you post these requests online? Because I wasn't able to find these documents. That would be something that you should post. Post the documents of what is available. I didn't see those either. So I don't necessarily believe the claim made by the Gateway Pundit. I tried to do a little Googling to find out about this. And here's what I got with Google. I just Googled Bill Barr Freedom of Information Act election. And this is the result that I got. It looks like the results below are changing quickly. If the topic is new, it can sometimes take time for reliable sources to publish information. Well, that's interesting because, this statement that he made was years ago, right? This statement was made in 2020. But Google is saying, we're not sure about this. Now, what can I conclude when Google is, I don't know, not hiding results? I'm not implying that they're hiding results. I'm just saying that I'm trying to find out about these Freedom of Information Act's requests, and Google's telling me, check back later. Again, absence of evidence. I don't have any evidence that Google is hiding it. All I know is that they're not telling me. And that's all I can report to you is I've honestly tried to verify this story, and I can't verify it. I've tried, but I can't. I've tried to verify what Bill Barr, his original statement, I can't verify that either. So what is the conclusion to make? Well, the conclusion is we know that every presidential election is totally legit, and that's very fortunate for the United States. That is very fortunate because, while there may be problems with the DMV, there may be problems that you may have dealing with Social Security or the IRS or any other government agency, the one agency that we know is absolutely above board and always gets things right, especially when it comes to presidential elections, is our federal elections. And we know that. And so we're very lucky as Americans that that is the case. I am certainly not questioning any election. I believe them all. Full stop. Okay? But I'm just sharing with you, I wanted to do a fact check on this subject. I went to the Google machine, and it's telling me results are changing. I know the burden of proof is on Bill Barr to explain how he came up with his conclusion, and he hasn't done that. So I don't necessarily buy that. Gateway Pundit is making some claims, but Wikipedia tells me that they're a hoax site, and so I don't know that I can believe that either. So what's my conclusion? What's your conclusion, Tom? I don't know. That's my fact check. I will revisit it when I get more information. But that's what I have. But I think what I did is kind of important, and it could just be you're babbling on and you're not making any sense, and where's your conclusion? And come on, I thought you were the fact checker. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. And what I'm telling you is right now, I'm trying to verify his statement, and I just can't seem to do it. But that doesn't mean that it's not correct. Okay? How's that for nuance? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. When we're talking about the burden of proof, it's on the person making the claim. I didn't get enough from Bill Barr, but I can't really draw a conclusion from that. So that's where I'm at. I hope you're not disappointed with that fact check. I tried to do the best that I could, given the circumstances and what is allowed on this platform to discuss. How did I do? Was this okay? Let me know in the comments. And now let's get to some slightly more fun topics. Okay, Flo Rida. Is everyone a big Flo Rida fan? I am. I'm thinking back to his song "Low." That's all I can remember from Flo Rida. I should have looked it up, but I didn't. But you ever have those people that are just you just like and you don't know why for whatever reason? Flo Rida, I always seem to just I kind of like that guy. Don't know why. I have no reason to like him. I just kind of, I don't know, I get good vibes from him. I kind of liked it. Well, it turns out he just won $82 million in a lawsuit. Yeah. Wow. Good for him. A Florida jury ruled in favor of a lawsuit brought forth by rapper Flo Rida against Celsius energy drinks and awarded him a total of $82.6 million in damages. The jury found Celsius guilty of breaching an endorsement deal with Flo Rida that ran from 2014 to 2018, as well as fraudulently hiding information from him. Flo Rida filed the lawsuit in 2021, claiming Celsius owed him millions in added stock and royalties under the terms of their deal. During closing arguments, Flo Rida's attorney stated that his client had not sought a specific dollar amount in his lawsuit, but the 1% ownership he was promised. So he was part of this, he promoted this company back when they were nothing, and they did quite well. They never got paid. Well, that did not work out well for Celsius energy drinks. and kind of shows that Flo Rida is not to be not to be messed with. That's a lot of energy drinks to $82 million. I don't know who's drinking all these energy drinks. Are you an energy drink person? Wow, that's something that I really don't relate to. But apparently it is popular. Must be popular enough to be worth an $82 million settlement. That's crazy. All right. Let's see. All right. Calibri. I think I'm saying that right. Calibri. The U.S. State Department has announced that it will be using Calibri as its default font for all official documents effective February 6th. Of all the problems in the world, of everything the State Department is dealing with, changing the font is the most important thing. So I'm glad that they're doing that. This change is made in support of creating a more accessible department. As Times New Roman's decorative angular features can cause accessibility issues for individuals with disabilities who use optical character recognition technology or screen readers. Calibri is considered to be a more modern and more legible than Times New Roman. However, there are some in the typeface community who disagree with this claim and prefer Times New Roman's old-fashioned and serious look. Additionally, it should be noted that Microsoft announced plans to replace Calibri with a new default font in 2021. Now, Microsoft announced they're replacing Calibri as their default font. They've yet to do that. So who knows what the Microsoft default font will be? We'll just have to find out. If you announce you're changing something, change it within a year, if you're making that change. But we're still waiting to see what the new default font for Microsoft will be. I don't know about you, but what do you think about the change? Now, the top one here for Department of State, here we go. That is in Times New Roman, has some nice serifs, little things on the ends of the letters. And Calibri is a more modern, more simple font. Now, the claims that they're doing this is because they're saying that the optical character reader doesn't work well with Times New Roman. To which I say, well, fix the optical character recognition machines, the optical characteristic recognition algorithms. Because I guarantee you, computers can read Times New Roman, okay? I don't believe that if that's the case, you need to fix your OCRs, right? That's the technology that needs to be updated. If they're like, we like this one better, okay, fine. But the reasoning that they're doing this is because optical character recognition doesn't work for Times New Roman. I'm not buying that argument whatsoever. We have insane technology now where computers are able to distinguish letters and characters that are handwritten. So you're telling me that some can read handwriting, but yet for whatever reason, this old technology for people with disabilities, they can't update that for them? Come on, they can update that. Myself, I'm not really a fan of the more simple fonts. I've been playing around with the fonts that I'm using here for the chyrons on the screen just to see which looks better. I'm just playing around with different ones. But what do you think? Do you like this update from the Department of State moving away to a more simple, kind of more elementary school looking font? To me, I'm not a fan, but I guess there's bigger problems in the world. With all the big problems in the world, I'm shocked that they're even doing this. But you know, I guess they have lots of people, and some people need to do something to justify their job. So they did that. And I do think if you're doing something that makes it more accessible for people with disabilities, that's, I'm in favor of that. I'm not against that. But if that's the reason, how about you put a little money into fixing the optical character readers recognition? You can do a better job with that. And that would probably be a better use of State Department money. But again, that's just mine. Stick around because after the outro, I'll be reading your comments and talking about some things coming up on the channel. Let me know what you thought of this fact check. Hope you have an awesome weekend. Peace. All right. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Just checking out your comments here. That was a tough one to talk about. That was a tough topic. I was challenged to do some things that were a little bit more dangerous, and that's what I tried to do. I probably went over the top. I'm not sure. But yeah. Diet Sprite says he's too high, or I'm saying he, I'm assuming he or she or they, whatever, is too high to understand all that. Is quoting anonymous sources good enough? Oh, depends. Anonymous sources, I don't think that would be big enough, wouldn't be convincing enough, but sometimes that's all you have. Let's see. I do want to mention, thanks everyone for hitting the like. If you're still sticking around here, hit the like. I appreciate that. I'm trying to figure out what is best for this channel, what would be better. I thought coming back I would do a live show that just kind of interested me, and that I could work on my own skill of presenting and getting better at presenting live, because I was not very good at presenting it live. I don't think that I'm good at it now, but I figure if I do a daily show where I'm live and I work toward being better, that I'll be better. But I'm not sure that it's necessarily good in the algorithm to have a long show to be shared. And what I've seen other people do is they break the show up into segments. So they have their live show, and then they delete the live show, and then they put up segments. I may play around with that just to see if that works any better. Yesterday's video got like 54 views or something. 27 likes, which is great. So over half the people that watch the video hit the like button. So that's cool. But the views were really low. So I'm thinking about maybe doing the live show, cut, and then taking it down and then just putting up segments. Let me know what you think about that idea. Still trying to figure all this out. Natasha says, I saw somewhere the total number of votes for each nominee was greater than the actual number of registered voters. I don't think that is the case. Sometimes there may be more people like on the voter rolls than there are people in a place, but the actual votes counted, I don't think there's ever been an instance where there have been more actual votes than people registered, because that just doesn't happen. One of the things is often what happens is the more extreme a claim is, it just seems to spread quicker. And especially on this topic, a lot of the bigger claims tended to just take off, and it didn't necessarily mean that they were true. Let's see. Rev says, how do you disprove a negative? It's tricky. But in this case, what we're talking about is, because you can't necessarily disprove a negative, but if you're making a claim something doesn't exist, you at least have to show, well, I looked, right? You could say, for example, if you said Bigfoot doesn't exist, it's like, okay, well, you're making that claim. What's your evidence? You can say, well, I have looked at all of the, biology websites and classifications of mammals, and there was no Bigfoot listed. Okay, that's some evidence, right? That's some evidence that you can use to say that Bigfoot doesn't exist. If you said Bigfoot doesn't exist, and you say, well, why? And you go, well, that's what I think. Then that's an opinion, and that's not a declarative statement, if that makes sense. Natasha says, I think we all have a little Aspie in us, or at least we should. I relate to that more than so much. About quoting the mainstream media after they quote an anonymous source. Does that make a thing a fact? Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on, and I'm trying to thread the line there. It's not an expression, thread the line. Thread the needle there. Or how about quoting people that work for you or quoting yourself? What about just saying that you know you aren't true? That works, right? Facts are hard these days. Facts are hard. Facts are really tough. Doug says he's like number 8, so that's awesome. Cool. Used to drink a bang every day. Got to the point where if I didn't have one, I was constantly tired. Stopped a few months ago. It wasn't easy. It is tough getting off caffeine. That is really tough. I'm not off caffeine. I drink coffee every day. But I've had so much that I think I've destroyed my adrenal glands, and it doesn't have that kind of effect on me anymore. Is the old font racist or something? Probably. It probably harkens back to colonial times or something with those serifs. So that could be the case. Tobias was here, says it sucks you have to tiptoe so carefully on YouTube. It's a sad state of affairs. Would love an uncensored version of your show at some point, once a week on Rumble only, perhaps. That's an idea. On Rumble and Odyssey, I do go live. And in fact, Doug was over, I don't know if he's still there, on Rumble. Hashtag Fact Check Friday, Danger Edition, Tom Multicast. Thanks, Tobias. So there were a couple people over on Rumble. Make sure to hit that like button on Rumble. And I look over on Odyssey, still not a single person over on Odyssey, but perhaps that'll grow. But that is one thing. To be able to have an uncensored show or to be a bonus show or something like that on an alternative platform, I have to build up a little audience on that alternative platform. So I am considering that. So perhaps that will be in the future. But I do want to know, let me know your thoughts on this, on my long ramble. I do read every comment. I do appreciate it. Be sure. Anyway, just have an awesome weekend, and I will catch you all on Monday. Peace.